Okay, well, I'd like to thank Ramsgate Town Council for calling this meeting, because I think people have wanted to be able to express their views for quite some time now. I'd just like to introduce myself. I'm Susan Kennedy. I live in Ramsgate. I work in the local NHS, and I'm here really just as a representative citizen of Ramsgate, but also as part of a group, a No Night Flights group, that has been working for over a year now to try and bring attention to this problem. As a group, we support Manston. We want it to be successful. It's probably important to state that at the beginning, but to start with, we really want to talk about why opposition to night flights, and really start looking at some of the facts about jobs, rather than having to listen to some of the promises about jobs that we've heard from INFRATIL. And jobs seems to be really, really important. As our group, we've been out on the streets petitioning, and we've been listening to people. There's a member of the group up there. We've got well over 2,000 signatures now collected against the night flights, and that's in just about 8 hours on the streets. But jobs are frequently mentioned, and this is something that's being pushed in a proposal. And there isn't anybody in this room that doesn't want jobs for Thanet. I'm absolutely convinced about that. The airport's been in private hands now for 11 years, through the biggest aviation boom that the world has ever seen, and has produced 111 jobs. That's 10 a year. The airport claims that it'll have 611 jobs by 2018, and that this will produce 2,189 additional jobs, what are known as indirect jobs. Although I would point out that indirect jobs can be located anywhere. They don't have to be in Thanet, they don't even have to be in the UK. So for example, a firm supplying goods or parts, whatever, to the airport could be based in the East Midlands, they could be based in Poland. Okay, so let's be clear about what jobs might be created and where they might be created. So, Manston thinks it can create 3.6 additional jobs for every person it employs on the basis of those figures that they've given. That's an estimate, and it's an estimate for potential, and it's, well, in fact, estimates for potential jobs created in the aviation industry are notoriously exaggerated. Stansted has already created jobs for its community, and to date it's created just 0.3 additional jobs for every existing job. That's the current ratio, so that's slightly different to the 3.6 that we're being quoted as additional jobs that will be created. So we can see that this is a massive overestimate here. Even the aviation industry itself recognises that increased flights do not have a significant impact in terms of job creation. The Airport Operators Association has forecast that by 2030, with an increase, or an expected increase, of 104% in the number of passengers flying through UK airports, will only produce a 21% increase in jobs at airports. And we know that passenger flights can produce more jobs than cargo flights, but even so, as the aviation industry becomes more and more automated, the number of jobs created is fewer and fewer. When Charles Buchanan was part of the management team at London City Airport, that airport promised that in return for permission to increase flights by 50%, that was an extra 36,000 flights they wanted out of London City Airport, there would be 3,135 new jobs. So again, jobs were promised. They got their flights, and by 2008, they created only 726 jobs. A fraction of what was promised, and only 30% of those jobs went to local people. So 36,000 extra flights delivered only 210 local jobs. I really think it's important that we look at figures that exist out there, and not just predicted figures that are being bandied about. So Manston is asking for just 8% of what London City Airport asked for. So on this basis, we might be looking at 16 local jobs. You could lose that many jobs if only a few businesses were forced to close as a result of night flights. We've spoken to workers at the airport. It was my great good fortune, along with other people, to speak at somebody who works at the airport, who says there's plenty of capacity at the airport already. They can absorb extra flights without creating any jobs at all. They just put the existing workers on overtime, who just get overtime when the night flights come in now, the unscheduled night flights. Anyway, what sort of jobs do we want in Thanet? The recent experience of Thaneters suggests that if you create very low-paid jobs, they don't always end up being filled by local people anyway. The Campaign for Rural England and their opposition to Manston's master plan has provided figures that show that the average wage at Manston is lower than the average wage in Thanet. Shouldn't we have our higher aspirations for our young people and families in this place? On the basis of evidence from London City Airport, where Charles Buchanan's own experience sits, let's not forget that, and from other airports around the country, it seems quite possible that we can have night flights and no extra jobs at all, or a tiny fraction of the numbers being bandied about. On the other hand, night flights could easily bring about a swift loss of existing jobs in Ramsgate. Some hotel, bed and breakfast and campsite proprietors and owners have been telling us they're deeply concerned and they expect to lose business and staff. And that's obviously because people will choose not to stay in Ramsgate if they can't get a decent night's sleep. Why would you come? Similarly, some restaurant owners are fearful of losing their trade as a knock-on effect of fewer people visiting or staying in Ramsgate. These are real jobs that we have in the town at the moment with the potential to create more. For example, in Herne Bay, a new 50-room Premier Inn with a 50-seater restaurant has created 60 new jobs in the last 18 months. Potentially, we can do the same in this area. So what is the vision for Ramsgate? What does the Town Council see for Ramsgate in the future? Plans for the regeneration of the town as a leisure destination with broad appeal that can attract people from further afield have been spoken about by the council and others. The idea is surely that people will come for the weekend or longer. When we've been petitioning in the town centre, people visiting the town have said to us that they would not come if there were planes flying through the night. Even more worrying is that if hotels and bed and breakfasts close, they can often end up empty or as houses of multi-occupancy or turned into flats. Now, I don't think we want that kind of residency pattern that can often produce associated problems. Problems, in fact, that TDC have been dealing with or trying to deal with in Cliftonville and Margate. Ramsgate's been very fortunate in recent years to see its property stock being renovated and refurbished by hard-working, decent people who, by restoring their properties, are providing work and pumping money into the local economy. Don't we want to see that continue? Night flights threaten real jobs.